In working with rigs, I had mentioned there is a keyboard shortcut, the Option or Alt key, when you click on a bone to change its parenting orientation. If I come over here to the Tools palette and we see this little chain icon here, which is for inverse kinematics, a connected function, we'll see with that tool activated, I can see how all these bones happen to be connected. That the pelvis bone has some bones connected to it that go up and create the spine and the head. That the shoulder areas right here connect to this mid bone right here. There's ways, once this has been done, if you wanted to parent the bones to a different bone, you can do that. The way to do that is to go ahead and select the bone that you want, and then choose the next target bone that you want it to go to. When I click, you can see that I just changed the orientation now of this shoulder bone for the right shoulder, instead of being connected to the upper back, to go ahead and be connected to this neck bone up here. Just know that that option is available, or if you draw a rig and forget to do the Option Alt thing and you get this strange parenting going on, super easy to fix. You just use the IK tool here, the bone parenting tool, and retarget what is connected to what. This is kind of related to another feature called bone offset. There are some times that the bones may get moved if you select everything that's connected to it. Remember how in one of the movies we had done some bone binding to it? If I select this bone, we have flexibinding on this side and it stretches out our character right here. I want to explain a couple things it has to do with parenting and bone offset. Flexibinding is new as of Anime Studio 9.5, and it allows for a great squishy type of motion. By default, it's on because it works so well most of the time. But you do have the ability to go ahead and bind layers to bones and offset them like this, and you might think, what is the purpose of that? Well, I'll have to tell you right now, there really is not a purpose for that, but there has been a purpose for that. Let me show you what I mean. We'll create a new document. We're going to open our library, and as the content library opens up, let's go ahead and come down to, I think it's in Partners. We'll take a look at a legacy character. Bone offset and the ability to make sure that parenting is the way you want it. I'll double click on this character Rachel right here. Has to do with the legacy nature of how these characters were created a while ago. Smith Micro is doing a great job of making sure that with all the advances they pack into Anime Studio Pro, that it still works pretty well going backwards to content you may have built that may be part of the studio function or that you may have purchased later on. We'll just go ahead and do the Rachel front view right here and not import any of these other options. I'll choose OK and we'll get rid of our content library. Wow, this is a mess. What happened here? I'm bringing this up because this is how characters used to have to be put together before flexibinding. And it's not uncommon to come across these characters if you purchase them as well. Because there was no option to have the joints or the different pieces of art connect together smoothly and kind of stretchy, and you change the bone strength with the bone strength tool, you used to have to build the characters all torn apart like this using the bone offset tool. And then, once they were apart, you would go ahead and use this offset tool and drag the body back together. So if you encounter a character like this and have any of the other tools selected besides the bone offset tool, you'll find an exploded character, and that is why. If we enable the parenting, we can see here some really obvious connections, and as the character is built in various parts and you wound up with more complexity to characters, the visual cue for parenting was really important. It can be engaged or changed now if you want to go in and modify any of these characters. But I wanted to point those out to make sure that you've got a good experience with Anime Studio Pro.